I always thought betrayal was something that happened to other people. Coworkers, old friends, strangers on the internet. Not me. Not in my home. Not with her. But life has a twisted sense of humor. It started with something small, her laughing at a text she wouldn't show me. Then came the late meetings, the guarded phone. The tension she didn't bother to explain anymore. And one Thursday night, when she said she was working late, I did something I never imagined I would. I followed her. Not with pride. Not with a plan. Just with this sick, gnawing feeling in my gut that wouldn't shut up. She wasn't at her office. She was at a bar across town. With him. It wasn't just the look they shared or the way she leaned into him like she used to with me. It was the fact that I knew that this wasn't the first time. And I didn't confront her that night. I just stood there in the dark, watching the woman I built a life with, laughing like a stranger. When I got home, I sat on the floor of our bedroom for what felt like hours, staring at our wedding photo, listening for a reason not to burn the whole damn house down. But I didn't leave. Not yet. I needed answers. I needed the truth. And more than anything, I needed to know why the woman I loved, my wife, had become someone I didn't recognize. Here is chapter 2 of What We Rebuilt, continuing the story in the husband's point of view. She came home late, again, hair windblown, coat buttoned wrong. She looked surprised to see me still awake. I guess I was supposed to be asleep by now. Out of the way. Hey, she said casually, kicking off her shoes like nothing was wrong. Sorry I'm late. It was a meeting. I cut in, staring straight at her. Or was it the guy from the bar on Westbrook? Her face froze. Everything in her body stilled, like I'd punched the air out of her. She didn't deny it. Didn't even flinch. I watched her eyes glaze with panic, calculation, then regret. In that order. That hurt more than anything. You followed me, she whispered. No, I said. I followed the version of you I thought still existed. She sat down slowly, like her legs couldn't hold her anymore. It wasn't supposed to be anything. I didn't mean to, she stopped. Looked at me. I didn't plan for this. That makes it better? I asked. That it just happened. She started to cry. And I hated myself, because even then, a part of me still wanted to comfort her. Still wanted to fix what was shattered. I messed up, she said through tears. I know I did. But you have to believe me. This wasn't about him. It was about me. About feeling like I'd disappeared. I didn't speak. Couldn't. Because for the first time in years, I saw the truth. Not just of what she'd done, but of how far apart we'd grown. Two people sleeping in the same bed, living in different lives. I don't know if I can forgive you, I finally said. But I'm not walking away. Not until I understand how we got here. She nodded, wiped her face. That's fair. It wasn't. But it was all I had left to offer. The next morning, I didn't wake her. I just sat in the kitchen, nursing a cup of coffee that had gone cold hours ago. My mind replayed everything. Her tears, her words. The look on her face when I said I wasn't walking away. I wasn't sure if I said that out of strength or stupidity. Around 9 a.m., she walked into the kitchen like she didn't know how to move anymore. Careful, quiet, like she was waiting for me to explode. But I didn't. Morning, I said, voice flat. Hi, she replied, voice small. We sat in silence for a while. Then I asked the question I'd been avoiding. How long? She winced. 3 months. 3 months. 90 days of lies. Nights she came home late. Mornings she kissed me goodbye with someone else still on her lips. Do you love him? I asked. No, she said quickly. Too quickly. I gave her a look. She swallowed. I think I loved how he made me feel. Seen. Like I mattered. But it wasn't real. That stung. Not because of the affair, but because she used to say those things about me. What happened to us? I asked. We used to be solid. We used to laugh. She looked down, tears returning. Life happened. Bills. Work. Exhaustion. I didn't feel like a person anymore. I felt like someone's wife. Someone's employee, someone's daughter. But not me. I understood that more than I wanted to admit. I'd been on autopilot, too. Providing. Solving. Doing. But not being. Still, cheating wasn't the answer. I want to try, she said suddenly. I want to be better. I'll do anything. And there it was, the first sign of the woman I married. Not the perfect version, but the real one. Broken. Honest. I didn't forgive her that morning. But I didn't leave, either. Because something in me whispered, if she's willing to fight for us, maybe we're not done yet. Forgiveness isn't a switch you flip. It's a hallway you walk through, every day. wondering if you'll ever reach the door. That week, we started marriage counseling. Yeah, I was the one who booked the appointment. Some part of me needed to hear from someone who wasn't carrying the guilt or the pain. A referee, a translator, a mirror. Our therapist's office was small, filled with soft chairs and heavy silence. She asked us to tell our story, and for the first time in months, I heard her speak like she used to, not in defenses or denials, but in confessions. I betrayed him, she said. But before that, I abandoned him emotionally. I stopped choosing him. That cut deeper than the affair. But then she added, I want to choose him again. Every day, if he'll let me. I didn't answer right away. Not in the office. Not that day. That night, I watched her sleep. Not in a creepy way. In a way a man watches. The ruins of his life and wonders if something sacred still lives among the wreckage. And then, quietly, I took her hand. She didn't wake, but her fingers curled around mine like they'd been waiting. Was I still angry? Of course. But something else had moved in beside the pain. Hope. Hope that maybe love doesn't die. It just forgets how to speak. And maybe, just maybe, we were learning the language again. Trust doesn't come back in full strides. It limps. It stumbles. It pauses at every doorway, looking over its shoulder. The first time she stayed late at work after the affair, I didn't say anything. But I didn't sleep either. I watched the clock like it owed me an explanation. Every red minute that passed without her walking through that door felt like a test I hadn't studied for. When she came home, she showed me her calendar, her texts, even a picture with her coworkers at the office. I don't want to just tell you where I've been, she said. I want to earn the right for you not to ask. And that hit me, because she didn't get defensive. She didn't roll her eyes. She didn't tell me to move on. She stayed. She answered the questions I couldn't even bring myself to ask. Some days I hated that I still needed that reassurance. I hated that I wasn't above it. But pain isn't something you outgrow. It's something you outlast. We started doing simple things again, going for walks after dinner, holding hands in public, laughing at dumb sitcoms we'd once loved. You'd be surprised how intimate silence becomes when it's not avoiding anything. And one night, when she rested her head on my shoulder, she whispered, "Thank you for not giving up on me." What she didn't know was, I had. But I was trying to forgive myself too, for staying. I used to think betrayal was black and white. Someone cheats, someone gets hurt. End of story. But one night, she sat across from me, legs tucked beneath her, face bare of makeup, and said, "Do you want to know why I did it?" I didn't. Not really. But I nodded anyway. She told me she'd been lonely. Not unloved, just unseen. I felt like I was disappearing in our life, she said, her voice shaking. Like I'd become a role. A wife. A woman who reminded you to pay the bills, scheduled dentist appointments, cooked dinners, and somewhere along the way, I forgot who I was outside of you. I could have gotten angry again. Instead, I realized something painful. I had felt the same way. I had just coped differently. I shut down, buried myself in work, went through the motions, thinking being present meant physically being in the same house. But emotionally, I'd been on autopilot. She didn't cheat because she stopped loving me. She cheated because she stopped loving herself. And the man she betrayed wasn't the man she married. I'd changed too. We both had. The version of us that could survive this wouldn't be the same as before. We had to build something new. Together. Forgiveness isn't a switch. It's a slow, grinding process. Some days I felt like I could breathe around her again. Other days, one wrong glance, and I'd spiral visions of her with him. Laughing, touching, kissing. I hated how real those images felt, even though I never saw them with my own eyes. I started therapy. At first, I told no one. It felt like weakness. But then the therapist asked me a question that cut deeper than anything my wife ever said. What part of you needed this pain to finally speak up? I'd built walls so high around myself I didn't realize. I was suffocating inside them. I thought being a good man meant staying silent, providing, protecting, enduring. But strength isn't silence. Strength is saying, "I'm hurt." Strength is choosing to stay and still demanding more from both of us. So, I came home one night and told her everything. The therapy, the flashbacks, the resentment, the shame. She cried, not for what she did, but for what I had swallowed alone for so long. That night, for the first time since it all broke, we didn't talk about the past. We talked about the future and how to make it ours again. You don't rebuild a house by pretending the fire never happened. You start by clearing the ashes. naming what was lost. Then, brick by careful brick, you learn how to make something sturdier. That's what we were doing. No grand gestures. No magic resets. Just daily choices. Some mornings, I'd find her already in the kitchen, 2 mugs of coffee on the table. Mine always a little stronger, just the way I liked. Other times, I'd catch her staring at old photos of us. From before, tears brimming, but not falling. She didn't pretend everything was fine. And strangely, that helped. She started going to therapy too. Separate at first, then together. We learned how to argue. Not win, not avoid, but argue well. We talked about the years leading up to the affair. The things unsaid. The distance. My silence. Her loneliness. The slow erosion we both ignored. And it hurt. But the truth always does before it heals. One night, she reached for my hand across the couch and whispered, "I don't want to be who I was, but I miss who we were." I didn't have the perfect answer. I still don't. But I squeezed her hand back. And that was enough. Trust doesn't return like a flood. It grows like a seed, fragile, slow, almost invisible at first. It was in the little things. Her phone, left unlocked on the kitchen counter. The way she no longer flinched when I came into the room unannounced. How she looked me in the eyes and didn't turn away anymore. But also, in me, in how I stopped watching her every move. Stopped searching for cracks in her stories. I didn't want to live like that. I knew I couldn't love her and investigate her at the same time. There were setbacks. Moments where old fears crept in like smoke under a door. But this time, we named them. Out loud. "I'm scared," she'd say. "Me too," I'd admit. And we stayed in the conversation. The world outside still judged us, judged me, for staying. They called it weakness. But they didn't see what I saw. The woman who chose to fight for our second chance harder than she ever fought for the first. Sometimes strength doesn't look like walking away. Sometimes it looks like staying, healing, believing again, even when it's hard. Especially then. People think forgiveness is the finish line. But I know better now. It's the start. After the storm, after all the apologies and tears and truth, we were left with something we'd never had before, a clean slate. Not blank, just rewritten. We didn't go back to who we were. We couldn't. We became something else, something stronger, something that knew the cost of silence, the danger of assumptions, and the power of a second chance. We started doing little rituals, Friday night walks, no phones. Sunday morning breakfasts, just us. We made space to talk, even when it hurt. Especially when it hurt. She started painting again. I started sleeping through the night. And there was this moment, just a few weeks ago, where she reached across the couch, took my hand, and said, "Thank you for not giving up on me." I didn't say anything at first, just held her hand. But in my heart, I knew I hadn't just stayed for her. I'd stayed for us. Because what we had, what we rebuilt, wasn't perfect, but it was real. And finally, it was ours. If you made it this far, thank you for walking through this story with us. What we rebuilt isn't just about betrayal. It's about choosing love when it's hardest. About the kind of strength it takes to stay, to heal, and to begin again. If you believe in second chances, in love that fights back, and in rising even after being broken, this story was for you. Subscribe for more stories that don't just entertain, they make you feel.